On May 25, 2023, meaning around 4 months ago, the Food and Drug Administration, or the FDA, finally approved Neuralink to start experimenting on humans. Around that time, Neuralink tweeted out that we're excited to share that we have received FDA's approval to launch our first in-human clinical study, and we will announce more information on this soon. It has been 4 months since this news has came out, and finally Neuralink tweeted out that we are looking for volunteers, especially people that are paralyzed from the neck down. You have probably heard that Neuralink is trying to fix paralysis and other issues with the body, like spinal injuries, blindness, or deaf. But for the first trials, they want to experiment on humans that are paralyzed from the neck down. When Neuralink started in 2016, its first goal was to install this chip in a human brain to fix mental sicknesses like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, or people that have suffered brain damage. Later on, Neuralink realized that if they're able to fix issues like this within the brain, they can also fix paralysis, especially the ones that are caused because of a spinal injury. And of course, your eyes and your ears could benefit too. Neuralink has been testing and experimenting for many years, but to get the approval of the FDA is probably one of the hardest things you can do, and after 7 years, they have finally been FDA approved. In the year 2022, the FDA wasn't having any of it, and they weren't trying to approve this for human trial, but it seems like Neuralink was able to prove that this is a safe procedure and it's not going to cause any more danger. Neuralink has been experimenting on a whole lot of different types of animals, from pigs to monkeys, but they have done most of their experiments on this monkey. You have to know that this monkey is not paralyzed or is not sick whatsoever, and they only wanted to install the chip in its brain to make sure everything works in order and it's correct. After they realized that there are no negative effects on the monkey's brain, they began the testings. Like, for example, they were trying to see if they can make it more intelligent or more aware. After the FDA finally approved Neuralink for testing, a lot of reporters asked them that what happened for you guys to accept them, but FDA hasn't given a real answer on why they did it. But either way, Neuralink is FDA approved and they're allowed to use it. Right now, Neuralink is looking for 10 people that are paralyzed from the neck down, and they have also announced that don't think that this job is not dangerous. It is still doing surgery on the person's brain, and we have to open up the skull to have access to the brain. So there is a lot of complications and dangers that could happen. And they say anyone that accepts this surgery, they have to accept all the responsibility that goes with it. Neuralink's first experiments for these people is that to help them control the mouse with their brain, basically with their thoughts. On April 18, 2023, Neuralink uploaded this video on their Twitter, which is basically a graph, and sometimes a square inside the graph lights up and you have to click it. But all this is being done by the monkey we've seen earlier. How it works is that wherever the monkey looks at and focuses, the cursor goes there and clicks. Neuralink says the accuracy of this system is 88%, but that's being done by a monkey. So if a monkey is able to process that much information with just thinking, imagine what a human can do. We all know how the human brain works. Neurons inside the brain, with the help of electric charge, they send signals all over the brain, of course all over the body. And most of the signal is delivered with the spine. Basically, your brain is the processor of the body, and the brain signals is the coding. So your spine is the main cable that delivers everything. This spine accepts the signal and sends it everywhere to the body. And unfortunately, sometimes people suffer spinal injuries, which could be an accident or they could be born with it. The engineers and scientists at Neuralink say, We have engineered this system in a way where the brain chip could have a bridge over the place that you have injury. And that means creating a bridge between your brain and the rest of your body, so it can send the signal to the rest of your body wirelessly rather than through the spine. But what we're saying, basically putting a bridge between the brain and the spine, is not something new. They have done this for many years. In 2012, a person named Gert-Jan Oskam had a motorcycle accident and ended up being paralyzed from the waist down. But EPFL was able to add a sensor to his spine, put a brain chip, and give a wireless connection between the brain and the spine. But the equipment used to do such thing is much bigger, and there's a lot of wires that goes with it. And you can't compare it to Neuralink. There are 2 chips wired to each side of the brain, and there is a computer on his back or sometimes on his walker. Of course, there's a chip inside the spine to process all that information and be the bridge. So basically, he thinks about walking. There's a coding that's created inside the computer because of the thought, and it wirelessly sends the signal to the chip inside the spine and allows him to walk. And testing has showed that he can walk slowly with the help of a walker. The results are pretty amazing. The only problem is the amount of work and the things that he has to carry with himself. On the other side, Neuralink basically wants to execute this, but much more practical and have higher performance. And that means walking and doing things without canes or help. The testing on human brains before had only 16 channels, but the Neuralink chip has 1,024 channels. So it's much more serious and much more high performance than any other chips we've ever seen. So all these channels allow the brain to be much more precise in the signal sending. Neuralink has also published this photo on their Twitter. This is one of those wires that's connected to the Neuralink chip, and it's extremely small under a microscope. The hole you're seeing right here is the size of 4 blood cells. So it's extremely small, and these 2 are the electrodes that accept the neuron connection and send the signal to the computer. Of course, Neuralink can't stress this enough that this is a brain surgery, and they have to cut the skull to insert this to the brain, inserted 1 millimeter in the brain to be exact. And the thing that makes it more difficult is everybody's brain is different, so all the blood vessels and the neurons are located in different parts. So they have to thoroughly x-ray it and figure out where to insert and where not to insert. If they make the smallest mistake and someone punctures a blood vessels in the brain, there could be internal bleeding, and that could be extremely dangerous, and it could cause damages to the brain where it will never return to normal again. It is because of this complicated surgery that Neuralink is designing a robot to perform the surgery itself, because it has to be so precisely done that they don't trust the human hand to do it. So creating this robot is just as important as the chip itself, because inserting this to the human head is extremely complicated and difficult, and if they puncture a microscope-sized vessel, it could be the end of it. Neuralink says the first surgery being tested on a human will be connected with the help of R1. A lot of doctors say if someone gets into an accident and they immediately bring him to the hospital to get them checked out, the chances of being paralyzed is much lower than waiting. So if a system like this is ready right away, a lot of issues and sicknesses could be prevented. So now it's your guys' turn. Do you guys think that this technology is actually better for the people, or it's another thing that's not good for us? Please comment.